I would like to acknowledge and celebrate the first Australians on whose traditional lands we meet and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Now I'd like to introduce the Provost from ANU, Professor Mike Calford. Just a couple of words about Mike. Mike is a fairly recent addition to ANU. He comes to the ANU Provost position from the University of Tasmania, if I'm not mistaken. And Mike has held many different high-level administrative positions in universities across Australia. Professor Calford is also a neuroscientist by training, so well-renowned researcher in addition to his high-level administration duties. So without further ado, Professor Mike Calford, Provost of ANU.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis, and I add my acknowledgement to the first Australians on whose traditional lands we meet, and welcome. And special welcome to our Indonesian guests, Selamat Siang, Namaste Mike. So that was for me, Dagant Anna. That's the extent of my It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you as guests and staff to the ANU today before we hear from His Excellency Professor Bambang Brodjonegoro, the Indonesian Minister for National Development Planning and formerly Indonesian Finance Minister. At ANU we are proud of the strong and abiding relationships we have with Indonesia. ANU alumni have held ministry positions in the Indonesian government, something of which we can be very proud. We have partnered with Universitas Indonesia, Institute of Technology Bandung, among others, and over 330 Indonesian students enrolled with us in 2017. ANU students visited Indonesia 114 times last year, and our Vice Chancellor enjoyed a productive visit to Jakarta. And you can see from my shirt that I also enjoyed going through Indonesia. We co-publish with Indonesian academics. In fact, Indonesia is our second largest co-publishing country among the ASEAN nations. Now that's not surprising, given that this university was founded partly to help Australia better engage with Asia and the Pacific. We hold that mission today, and there are a few more important nations to Australia than our large neighbour to the north. ANU is proud to be home of the Indonesia Project, one of the oldest institutions of its kind in Australia. The ANU Indonesia Project was established by Heinz Arndt in 1966-65 in response to changes in the Indonesian economic and political landscape. In fact, 1965 was certainly a year of change in Indonesia. It has grown to become a large interdisciplinary research centre, fostering greater understanding between Indonesia and Australia. The project's annual Indonesia Update conference is a chance for some of the best minds from our two countries to come together, analyse our relationship, learn from one another, and share perspectives on Indonesia's journey. And what a journey it has been, economically and politically, especially in the last few years. His Excellency has been a leader in that journey, as well as a close friend of the ANU Indonesia Project for many years. He was a speaker at the 2003 Indonesia Update Conference and was ANU Indonesia Project Visiting Fellow in 2004. He's also spoken at a number of Indonesia Project events, including a public lecture here in this very room around 2 years ago. In 2016, His Excellency was appointed as Indonesia's Minister for National Development and Planning. Prior to this appointment, he served as the Minister for Finance, the Vice Minister of Finance, Chair of the Fiscal Policy Office in the Ministry of Finance, Director General of the Islamic Research and Training Institute at the Islamic Development Bank, and Dean of the Faculty of Economics at the University of Indonesia. I think we need a bit more of that. Deans becoming government ministers in it may help with the development of this country. This afternoon, His Excellency will discuss Indonesia's vision for 2045, including utilising human capital, achieving sustainable economic development, tackling inequality, and very importantly, the value of good governance. I look forward to hearing more about this exciting vision for Indonesia's future. Please welcome His Excellency Professor Bambang Brodjonegoro.
Very good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Provost, Lane, all the faculties of ANU, especially from Indonesia Project, students, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, again, thank you very much for the invitation from ANU, Indonesia Project, and I'm always glad to be around you. And this time around, I would like to give you some kind of vision. People sometimes think that a country needs a vision. In our case, in Indonesia, we used to have, I think, strong vision, not developed politically, but developed technocratically. If you remember the Orde Baru, the new regime, they have a very disciplined planning mechanism. They have 25 years long-term development plan as well as 5 years development plan. Of course, 1998 everything changed from totalitarian to democracy, and there was, I think, a turning point in which planning, especially development planning, became less important. But still, given the fact that now we are a democratized country, we are a decentralized country, I think the vision is still needed. And some kind of long-term plan is necessary. Simply because we want to make sure that everybody in Indonesia will go to the same direction, will share the same vision. So that's the reason why we in National Development Planning Agency, Bappenas, established a study about Indonesia 2045. There were some reasons why we made this 2045 vision. The first one, 100 years of Indonesia independence. And I think we need to do kind of self-reflection. What has Indonesia achieved after 100 years of independence? And I think this is critical, and even more critical compared to, let's say, 50 years of independence or 75 years of independence. Second thing, from the planning perspective, after 1998, our long-term development plan changed from 25 years to 20 years. So the first long-term development plan after 1998 is 2005 to 2025, 20 years. And then the next long-term development plan would be 2025 to 2045. So once we are doing the vision, we also try to make, I think, the baseline for our preparation of next long-term development plan 2025 to 2045. And then the third reason, which is very important, is the president himself. The current president asked Bappenas directly at the time, and I was not at Bappenas, I was still finance minister at the time, to start thinking about Indonesia in the future. Even the president himself started to ask about 2085, but then we realized that 2085, I think, is still way too long. And then we have these 100 years of independence, I think, as a kind of more critical date. So that's why we decided that we will work first on this 2045 vision. So when we start to develop this study, we have to use the global reference. And this global reference is called global megatrend. Actually, the the actual title is Global Megatrend 2050, but we make adjustment to 2045, which is only 5 years difference. So, what will happen to global in 2045? Certainly, the population will be close to 10 billion people by that time, 2045, and Asia will contribute 55%. And then 66% of population will live in urban area. So even globally, we will be urbanized. So it's not just maybe in developed country like Australia or like in the US, like in Europe, but everywhere in the world, the trend to be urbanized. From Indonesia perspective, of course, the role of emerging economics will be much more important than what we have now. Of course, we already realized the importance of emerging economics through the G20. As you know, in G20, there are members that categorize as developed economy, advanced economy, but there are also members categorized more as emerging economy, like Indonesia, Turkey, South Africa, China, and Argentina, Brazil, and etc. In terms of international trade, the global trade grows 3.4% annually, meaning that the degree of openness will be increasing. And that will be actually the most important requirement for a country to graduate from middle income to the high income country. The middle income class will be very important in the future. And the proportion of middle and upper income class will exceed 84%, or basically 8.1 billion. So you can imagine, hopefully, the better world, because from out of 10 billion population, 8 billion of them will be in the middle and upper income class. And it will be dominated by Asia and Latin America. On the other side, of course, there will be competition for natural resources. There will be depletion of oil and gas, for example, and of course, technological advancement will be the answer to overcome the possible natural resources shortage. Technology, as you can predict, I think will be very much advanced. The Industrial Revolution 4.0 will be dominating by that time. And then one of the constraints for the growth will be coming from the climate change. Global temperature will increase 3.5% if we don't have initiative to reduce emission. And then more frequent extreme weather. And I think you can see now, at least these last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you can see what happened in Europe, in which even Rome, that is in the southern part of the Europe, very close to the Mediterranean, experienced a lot of snow with the temperature below zero. I think it's almost unimaginable. And I heard it was the first snow in Rome after 6 years. And it happens because the wind from the Siberia. And it has, created, I think, bad weather not only in Rome, but basically all the European continent. Geopolitically, I think it will be very interesting. I think China will position itself as the real superpower. Right now, they are still kind of proximity for the superpower, but they will be the real superpower by that time. Middle East will be very much vulnerable because number one, their natural resources, oil and gas, will be declining, and of course the push for the democratization will still be around. One thing that is not written here, and I remember from this Global Megatrend 2045, in terms of politics, there will be unification of Korea. I mean, that was one of the predictions in the Global Megatrend, and for me, that's the most interesting. But we don't want to put it over here because, again, this is just a projection, and still maybe unimaginable from our point of view today. So let's go to after looking at the global mega trend, what will happen to Indonesia? And since we are in the development planning agency, we are trying to look the 2045 using 4 development pillars. First would be human development. Second, sustainable economic development. Third, inclusive and equitable development. And also security and governance. So let me move to the economy first. I know most of you, or majority of you, will be dealing with the economic issues. Let's see how Indonesia can graduate. Currently, we are in the middle income trend. We are still in the lower middle income, not even in the upper middle income. And unfortunately, we have been there. I mean, by accumulating the years, it would be around almost 20 years. We are almost 20 years at the lower middle income. So, we are trying to do 2 scenarios. One is baseline scenarios, using what has happened these days. And the second one, of course, high scenario. With the baseline scenario, meaning business as usual, we are not doing something reformist, or we are not doing drastic change. Probably, we will have 5.1% annual GDP growth. 5.1%. And then, using this prediction and also the population by that time in 2045 will be around 320 million population in Indonesia. So using this 5.1% annual GDP growth and then population growth, probably we will have the income per capita close to $20,000 per capita in 2045. Currently, our GDP per capita is still around $4,000 per capita. But remember that this 2045 is still 28 years from now. So if we are able to make sure the growth will be constant, or on average at 5% from now until 2045, then probably we will graduate from middle income trend and becoming high income. So we will graduate from lower middle to upper middle, and then finally to high income country by 2037. So still 20 years from now. And then in terms of the size of GDP, we will be ranked number 8. I think some of you already read through social media or through some publication. I think Pricewaterhouse, made prediction that Indonesia will be the top 5 of the GDP in the world by 2030. They are right, but they are using GDP PPP. So GDP based on purchasing power parity. We are using just nominal GDP. So by nominal GDP, we will be ranked number 8 if we only grow 5.1% annually from 2017 to 2045. And then, what about high scenario? Of course, high scenario needs requirement, and the requirement will be reform. Major reform in Indonesia economic development itself. With the reform, prediction would be 6.4% annual GDP growth. Of course, again, there is a need of reform, and of course, given the fact that we are now growing around 5%, there will be period in which the growth has to be 7% or even higher for certain period of time before coming back to 6 or 5% annual growth. But if we grow by that standard, then our GDP per capita in 2045 would be close to $29,000. And then in terms of GDP size, we will be number 4. So this is by nominal if we can grow by 6%. Of course, I don't do the PPP because it will be much more complicated, but if we use this nominal GDP, we could be number 4 but we need to grow more than 6% annually from now until 2045. But of course, with higher annual economic growth, we will escape from middle income trap sooner in 2034. So 4 years earlier than the baseline scenario. So of course, using either one of the conclusions that without any major disruption, let's say global economic crisis like in 2008 or like Asian financial crisis 1998, Indonesia will be in the top 8 of the GDP, most likely number 8. But more importantly, in terms of income per capita, Indonesia will be categorized as high income country. Again, now we still have only $4,000 per capita. And as you know, for high scenario, we need structural reformation, something that I think has been told to everybody, but it's hard to implement given the fact that we are implementing the democratic system in which every government only has 5 years vision. And with 5 years vision, I think it will be difficult to do major reform, except there is a certainty that the reform will be continued with the next government that could be different with the previous government. So this is the scenario, and certainly this scenario will lead, let's say we use the high economic growth, but you can also use the baseline, and more importantly, the number of middle income class. I think this is important not only from economic perspective, but also from political perspective. I think everybody assumes that if we have stronger middle class, then our politics will be more mature, our politics will be better in compared to the low middle income class number. Currently, we only have around 45 to maybe now around 50 million middle income class in Indonesia, out of course, 260 million population. By 2020, it will be around 85 million, and it will be growing. So in 2045, out of 320 million, or 318 to be exact, million population, we will have 254 million middle income class. So this is the group of people that are already doing the so-called consumption. I mean, they are doing significant consumption and certainly will help the economy, certainly will help to reduce inequality, and certainly helping to empower the economic growth itself. And then for anybody outside Indonesia, 254 million middle income class certainly is very big market. So Indonesia will still be attractive as a big market. Sometimes it is a potential, but sometimes it's also disruptive, because by showing high interest on the size of the middle income class, people will always tend to do the import rather than producing ourselves. Indonesia will be the target of the production rather than Indonesia being producer itself. So this is one agenda that we will try to address in our 2045 scenario or agenda. Going a little bit to the demographic and urbanization. Of course, 2045, as I mentioned, we might have 320 million population. Life expectancy will be around 73 years by that time, but we'll start to have some aging population in which senior citizens, 65 years above, will be around 43 million in 2045 compared to only 12 million in 2010. And then Indonesia will certainly be a very urbanized country. Almost 70% people will live in urban area compared to only half now. Currently, in 2016, we have 52% people living in urban area. But in 2045, it will be close to 70%. And you can imagine which part of Indonesia that will be very urbanized. It will be Java. Because in 2035, 90% of Java will live in urban area. So urbanization rate in Java will be 90%. And it will be concentrated in Jakarta and Bandung area. So now we have the Jakarta metropolitan area. For the Indonesian, you know Jabodetabek. That's the Jakarta metropolitan area. And actually Bandung has its own metropolitan area. It's called Cekung Bandung. Bandung, Cimahi, Padalarang, etc. By 2045, because of the expansion of the metropolitan area, as you know, Jakarta metropolitan area tends to move to the east more than to the south or to the west. To the east now, you cannot say Bekasi is the border of the Jakarta metropolitan area. It's no longer valid, you know. Actually, it's now moves to Cikarang or even now to Kerawang. So going east very fast. In Bandung, the tendency is going north and to the west, northwest, also very quickly. So at one point in time, close to 2045, both Jakarta metropolitan area and Bandung metropolitan area will merge. And that will create we call it megapolitan Jakarta Bandung, with population 76 million. 76 million living in Jakarta and Bandung area. And of course, this has to be anticipated because we have to prepare all the infrastructure, we have to make sure the housing will be ready for maintaining that big size of population. As you know, Indonesia now experiencing demographic bonus. We start to have demographic bonus, as you can see from the lower left, since 2010. We started to have dependency ratio less than 50. And then the peak of the demographic bonus will be around 2030, when our dependency ratio is 46.9. After that, demographic bonus will start going back to the 50% level. So the prediction would be in 2045, when Indonesia is supposed to be an advanced economy, high income level, but at the time, from demographic point of view, Indonesia will start to have aging population, like other Asian countries. Japan already in aging population, China soon will be in aging population, similar with South Korea. So, if all scenarios doing like what I just said, this is okay, because we always have the theory or belief that we need to be rich before we retire. That also happens for the country. Look at what Japan is experiencing right now. With the aging population, Japan has difficulty even to grow by 1%. So economics and everything is good, but only leverage the economy by the 1%. They have difficulty to create even inflation. While we are struggling to have inflation, let's say below 5%, Japan has difficulty to even have positive inflation. And that's because they are already in the aging population. And we cannot afford to do that. If we are not able to graduate to high income country by 2045, then you can imagine we are not yet rich because we are not in the high income country, but we already retired. How we can get, ammunition to promote our growth? So you cannot undermine the importance of the demographic issues here. People always look at demographic issues as just number of population, and then we are now thinking to not to prolong, but how to make sure that we can delay, quote unquote, the aging population. Because with the current scenario, aging population will happen in 2045, certainly. But how can we be able to delay? The only possibility is to maintain the total fertility rate around 2.1. Currently, our total fertility rate, number of children per family, is 2.3. But in certain area in Indonesia, especially in Java, the TFR is already less than 2. Yogyakarta, I think Central Java, meaning that the number of children on average in Yogyakarta, for example, is 1.8, less than 2 children per family. And if we just let the TFR to go down, especially if our TFR is less than 2, then certainly the aging population will be quicker than what we expect. So the way to maintain, to delay a little bit, is because we don't have immigration policy like US or even Australia, then Indonesia needs to maintain this TFR. And we try to do simulation and we need to maintain TFR at 2.1. Of course, we still struggling to find how we implement a policy, because experience from Russia, from Singapore, showing that fiscal incentive will not work to improve the TFR. Russia, for example, because their natural growth of population declining, they are trying to give the incentive. You have 1 children, you got kind of allowance or bonus. If you have 2 children, more bonus or more allowance. Same with Singapore. They are trying to increase population. Unfortunately, at least experience from these 2 countries didn't work. The number of population growth still stagnant in those 2 countries. So people really value, people are not really intrigued by the just get the money and having the children. So they are thinking maybe even in the longer term and decided, I think children worth much more than the fiscal incentive given by the government. So they decided still not to have more children. But as a result, the aging population will be quicker. So again, this is one aspect. We are still trying to find the solution, how to maintain the TFR 2.1. In several occasions, especially if I have meeting with the National Agency for Family Planning, BKKBN, some of you know BKKBN, they always say in their campaign, especially in the Orde Baru, in the new regime, they always have the motto, I think, 2 anak cukup, basically 2 children enough, meaning that in mathematics way, maximum 2 children, right? If 2 anak cukup, meaning maximum 2 children. So if we want to pursue the TFR 2.1, I think they need to change the motto a little bit. Rather than saying 2 children enough, I suggest they change the motto is 2 children ideal. Okay, 2 children ideal meaning that it's recommended for you to have 2 children rather than 1 children. Because if you have 2 children enough, now we have some province, TFR less than 2, and as you know, many families in Indonesia, either they don't have children, they only have 1 children, or some other even decided not to, not to marry. So I think this is like, less essential issue, but this will be important, especially if we fail to achieve the scenario of 5% annual growth from now until 2045. If we have been able, then it's okay, because we will be rich before retire. And I think, especially for you, the young generation in Indonesia, please consider that. Japan now stagnant. China, I heard that China already relaxed the 1-child policy. They already relaxed, I don't know, 2 children or 3 children, but certainly they have to relax. Otherwise, they will be in trouble because of the aging population. And once we have demographic bonus, of course, it has to be accompanied by better education. Certainly, the first part of better education is to access of the education itself. So now, our labor force, unfortunately, 60% of our labor force in Indonesia only has maximum secondary school education, SMP atau di bawah SMP. Yeah. Maximum secondary education for 60% of our labor force. With that kind of the quality of labor force, it's hard for us to compete in the global world. So we need to improve the tertiary education, of course, high school, especially also the university or the vocational training, polytechnic level. So by 2045, we should aim for 90% of labor force with tertiary education. And currently, we are really concerned about the quality of education in Indonesia, because so far we aim too much on the quantity. We are trying to increase the access to education. We are trying to increase the length of the education, but we do not put too much emphasis on the quality of education. So, for example, at the end of the I think secondary school, the SMP level, 15 years old, when they participate in PISA, to compare the quality of secondary education among countries, Indonesia now below Vietnam. Indonesia one of the lowest in ASEAN. And I think we need to really improve this situation, because without quality labor force, it's hard for us to, achieve this kind of vision in 2045. Of course, years of schooling has to be 12. It's already part of our commitment. And gross enrollment ratio in tertiary education has to be around 60%. For education itself, I would like to emphasize a little bit on vocational training. I think this is the area in which Indonesia needs to learn from Australia. I think Australia has a very good system called TAFE that will improve the skill of the workers, and then certification for qualified workers. So we don't need to depend too much on the general education. Unfortunately, in Indonesia, our motivation when we participate in school is to get a diploma. And we hope with our diploma, either at high school, diploma of the university, it will be easier to get a job. It might be the case maybe years ago, but it won't be the case in the future. Because in the future, what job market needs, especially with the Industrial Revolution 4.0 digital economy, we need middle up skill level of the labor, and cannot be fulfilled just by completing general education and showing your diploma. Everything based on competency will be much more important in the future. It means your diploma won't be enough. Your diploma has to be accompanied by certification of your competency. And it doesn't have to be through general education. Our education dominated too much by the general education, not paying too much attention on the vocational. Even the tragic fact of the vocational education in Indonesia, one of the highest unemployment is the graduate of SMK, graduate of middle school, middle vocational school. It's quite sad because they're supposed to get job much easier than general education. Why they are not able to get a job? Because the quality of vocational education is so low. And then people just trying to get into the vocational school, middle vocational school, simply to get what? Diploma. Simply to say that I'm also graduate from formal school. rather than being proud of having specialists without even having a diploma. So this will need a big change, and from time to time, whenever I have a bilateral meeting with DFAT or Australian delegation, last time I met a minister from New South Wales, I emphasized the needs of Indonesia to learn about TAFE system. At least once they are graduated from high school, let's say they are just taking the general high school, and they don't have any idea what kind of field they think that will be good for them to get a job, why don't they get to the skill level? Why don't they join the TAFE and then get the certification, and it's clear what they are going to do. And now, for example, Indonesia is really lacking in terms of IT. Indonesia is one of, I think, top 5 in terms of the new startup in the world. There are a lot of startups, but the problem is the workers, the skilled workers in IT is very much limited. One of the big companies in startup in Indonesia has to hire up to 100 Indians. And some of them still stay in India, but they are on their payroll because they are the ones that created the apps. So if we are happy to have the apps for everything, maybe half of them created by overseas, by the Indians especially. Why? Because we don't have enough talents, we don't have enough skilled workers. So something has to be done either through general education or, more importantly, through the vocational education. And it doesn't have to be vocational education. It could be vocational education, it could be vocational training. So diploma should not be the only aim for anybody who's taking the courses or classes. Okay. Health, I think, is quite clear. We already have universal healthcare, and then, unfortunately, even we already have universal healthcare, we are trying to improve a lot of indicators, but we still have big problem, I think, related to the early childhood development. I think one study by Heckman showing that a country should invest more in early childhood development, rather than investing in the school, investing in the training, investing in university. It has to be first on the childhood. And I think it's very relevant for Indonesia. We still have stunting. 37% of children under 5 years in Indonesia still suffer of stunting. 37% means 1/3. 1/3 of children under 5 years. And in terms of geographic